So firstly, how many kids do you think Elon Musk has?
7,
Guess again.
9.
So Elon has 10 kids.
Wow.
Although I think recently he just had another, so I think he's got 11 now. Um, which I think is pretty crazy because, you know, I think we all know that like Elon wants to populate the Earth. He thinks depopulation is going to be a big downfall for humanity. Which I actually think I agree with that. I could give you my reasonings there.
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
have
a
seen his birth
really
rate.
vicious thing.
I
Go
have
ahead.
I have seen his birth rate comments on Twitter. He's repeatedly commented about he's worried about how the birth rate is declining, and I think he posted a tweet on X recently about how Italy had its lowest birth rate since in like hundreds of years or something. Like literally the least amount of births occurred in Italy recently in over the last several hundred years or something like that. I don't know, but
Well,
wild.
let's talk about that. Why do you think, okay, so number one, what do you think the steel man for the other side of it is? Because what I remember kind of growing up and hearing all about the different problems I guess Earth faced, none of them were related to declining population. If anything, it was um, we have too many people, we don't have enough resources to support all of the people, there's not enough space, there's not enough food, there's not enough land, there's not enough energy, XYZ. And then kind of Elon came along a few years ago and basically shook up the narrative and I guess challenged something that a lot of people just believe to be true, which is that, oh, eventually we're going to have so many people, the Earth can't support them. Um, so what would be the steel man for the other side of things? Because the sort of Elon's case is that one of the only ways, consistent ways to grow GDP for any country or group is increasing population, right? The more people there are, the more people there are to buy things, and therefore, economies grow. That's like a very simplistic way to understand it, but it's interesting because we've kind of seen some of the effects of declining birth rate and declining population, or at least declining young population um, uh, you know, in like China and other countries, like you just said, Italy, those that has pretty drastic economic effects that are negative. I mean, China reversed their like one child policy or two child, I forget what it was, some limitations on the number of children you could have. They reversed it because they were experiencing a lot of issues, right? I think Japan has, if I'm not mistaken, it's like um, the majority of Japan's population is over the age of like 55 or something like that, um, which is pretty wild, right? If you think about that, more than half of the population over, 55. So you kind of can see where you get like a declining number of productive members of the workforce, and that would obviously lend itself to lower GDP. And yeah, that's ultimately what a recession is when you have sort of consistently declining GDP. So Elon came along and said something different, um, which is interesting. Why do you agree with Elon?
Um, dude, I do not know. It's yeah. I mean, to me, it seems like we are going to really overpopulate the Earth just based off my very uneducated just guess. It's just like we already are doing so much to the planet. But I don't know. It's wild because yeah, I feel like we're already the dominant species, and it's kind of like we need to almost be kind of act in a sustainable way. It just seems like logically, but I don't know exactly about all the biology of everything on the earth and how that is going to play out with humans just continuing to populate the earth. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. What do you think?
Yeah. I think the argument for Elon's case is that if we don't continue to grow population, um, we're the surface area of technological innovation will be static, right? The
Mm,
likelihood that the next Einstein or the next
mm,
Stephen Hawking is born um, is smaller. That likelihood is smaller if we don't increase the population as fast as we can. but also it's smaller if we don't pull the developing countries and stuff into the developed world faster. Because at the end of the day, like innovation can't happen if you don't have the right tools, you don't have the right facilities, and all of these things. And so I think ultimately, Elon's kind of making like a brute force argument. He's basically saying like, we need more people so that we can grow economies, so that we can pull the developing world into the developed category faster, so that we can innovate more, and then ultimately go back and solve the problems that we created with more crude like industrial strategies where we're, you know, polluting the ocean or we're deforesting, you know, the rainforest. And so I think the idea is that it's kind of a brute force approach. It's like, let's just get as many people on the planet as we can, almost, or like just bring, you know, pump out as many new humans as we can, so that the likelihood of one of them being the next Einstein and then helping us make the next technological breakthrough to solve the problems that we created in the past. I think that it's actually a fairly sound strategy, so long as every incremental new human doesn't create more problems in aggregate than, you know, than we are capable of solving with new innovations. And I think the reality is like the next every technological leap we've had, like fundamental technological leap we've had, has had such expansive impact that we've no ability to predict it. So in other words, the next technological breakthrough we do have could be so immensely powerful that it could easily solve all of the problems that we've created in the past and then some. So I don't know. I tend to agree with Elon. I think like the alternative is just stagnation and just hoping that we can kind of like reorganize the resources we currently have into this perfectly like utopian kind of like we just perfectly allocate resources in the right way, and we have the exact right mix of sustainable energy and storage and all of the, I don't know, I'm getting more of a different, I'm focusing in on kind of like the energy mix of things, but basically I just think that's a harder problem to solve, like to try to just figure out how to reallocate things now, given that in order to solve the problems that we've created in the past, like we do need new
Yeah.
technology advances. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I would agree with Elon. I'd say it's a brute force solution, but I think it's better than the alternative, which is just kind of, you know, decreasing population. I think that's a worse.
Yeah. Just continue to advance, and yeah, get these
And also,
problems solved.
if you stretch it out on a long enough time horizon, basically what it's saying is like, okay, well, let's just keep the population static. Kind of what or decrease the population. Kind of what you're saying is like, oh, let's just like try to like ration what we have now as far as resources goes. Let's
Mhm.
not make as many technological advances. Or again,
Mhm.
if I stretch it to the extremes, let's make zero technological advances, and then let's just ration the resources we have now, and then eventually over millions and billions of years, Earth will just die, and it'll be just much easier than if we have a big catastrophic collapse of tons of people. I just think that, yeah, I just think that's a worse answer. It's basically saying, oh, we could either try really hard by populating the earth a lot, making lots of big technological advances and developing all of the developing the developing world. And yeah, and then, that's one option. And then the alternative is basically, let's just kind of sit here, right?
Yeah.
Let's just stay where we are and try to ration things. That kind of seems like the fundamental one or the other. So I'd have to
Yeah.
agree with you there. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Um,
yeah. So
I wish
Elon has 11 kids. He's got 5 from his first wife. Um, actually,
oh,
6 from his first wife, but one of them I think passed away from SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome.
if I can really quick,
Sure.
Elon, just to clarify my Italy mention is that Elon tweeted on March 29th, only 379,000 births in Italy for 2023, the lowest annual figure since the country's unification in 1861. So the lowest birth rate since 1861 in Italy.
Are
Yeah.
there? Does it say any like economic effect of that?
No, let me see if I can even um, share screen, perhaps. Um, present now.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
Italy has a national debt problem. similar to the US.
So if
Which
you
is
guys can see my screen here. Oh, they do, yeah. But yeah, so here's the tweet. And then I'll stop sharing. But yeah.
wow.